potentially going to be the favourite. Here we go then, ready to go racing for the last time in the Pirelli Super Series 600 and Tammuz GYTR Pro Shop Cup 600 Championships. Off they go, Tommy Fielding makes a good start from pole position, and I think we'll get the whole shot on the run down towards Redgate Corner. A bit of a challenge will come from James Alderson, I'm sure though, who is late on the brakes on the inside line and actually does go through, so Alderson leads the way. Fielding busy battling them for second place as they head out of Redgate and down through the Crater curves, three of them under a blanket. Tom Fisher is trying to move through into second. In fact, Tom Fisher's having a go at the race lead as they drop through the craters. That won't work. It's Alderson who leads the way, then Fisher second, and Tommy Fielding finds himself muscled down into third position through the old hairpin for the first time, and then they start to scream their way uphill. It is now side by side for the lead, and that I think is Fisher going through, so Tom Fisher got a much better exit from the old hairpin and has, I think, got the lead away from James Alderson into McLean's corner. Again, Fisher's strength has been his pace on cold tyres at the start of the races, and he's demonstrated that yet again in this third and final race of the weekend. He leads them then as they come out of Coppice Corner and head down the exhibition straight. James Alderson's got Tommy Fielding trying to find a way back into second place. Tommy's up the inside into the S's. Alderson's been so good on the brakes this weekend, but not good enough on this occasion, so Fielding does go through. Fisher then leads the way, Fielding second, Alderson third. Fourth position then is Dave Grace, I think now. No, Dan Stamper, I think it is, in fourth. As Alderson comes back at Fielding on the inside into the Melbourne hairpin and goes past him. So Alderson back into second place. This is all really playing into the hands of Tom Fisher, who's starting to build a bit of a cushion out in front. Goddard's corner they come then to the completion of the opening lap. Fisher leads the way, Alderson second, third for Tommy Fielding. Fourth position is actually Lee Wells, I beg your pardon. Lee Wells from the third row of the grid, seventh he started. He's up into fourth place at the end of lap one. Dan Stamper fifth, sixth Dave Grace, seventh Caden Wilkinson, eighth then is Jody Lease, ninth position for Kyle Tinker, Matt Pallett in 10th position leads in the Cup 600 category. Leaders in the Super Series though head down through the Crater curves into the old hairpin. Best to pull away. There's a change for fourth place. Dan Stamper gets on the inside of Lee Wells at the old hairpin. Stamper now will try and go after the lead group, which he did in the race earlier today. In fairness, Dan Stamper every bit as quick as the three who finished just ahead of him. Will he be able to maintain that pace over a full 12 laps then? Fisher, Alderson, Fielding trading fastest sector times at the beginning of this lap, but bodes well, doesn't it? Fisher's not escaping here really. He was 1.1 seconds clear at the start of the lap. If anything, I think that's come down slightly by the time they reach the Fogarty S's. Yes, it definitely has. That's not even half a second now, I don't think, between Fisher and Alderson, with Fielding sat in third. Dan Stamper trying to go with them from fourth place. If they start battling in front of him, that will certainly help his cause. Now Melbourne up the hill towards the Goddard's hairpin. Tom Fisher now starting to feel the heat again. The temptation is when you get out in front in the early stages of these races to push and really try and build a gap, but then you run out of tyres very quickly. So Tom Fisher's being sensible here really. Alderson's just put in the fastest lap of the race, so 1 minute 34.439 means that he was on that lap 7 tenths quicker and is now only 4 tenths adrift as they head for the old hairpin once again. And in fact they're almost side by side. Alderson's having a look at the inside of the old hairpin, but Tom Fisher was just far enough out of his reach. That was the first real attempt at a pass for James Alderson. Now head Schwantz again. James looks to the inside. So these two are getting away from Fielding just a touch, but Fielding doesn't always have the pace in the first few laps. He's still there in third place. He's got some nice clean air ahead of him, and Dan Stamper isn't really challenging him too much, although Dan did just put a purple sector in. Down towards the chicane, Alderson peeks to the inside and tries to get an overlap against Tom Fisher, but Fisher will lead them back down towards the Melbourne Loop for the third time of 12. 9 laps to go at the end of this one. Is Alderson close enough this time into the hair, but he's thinking about it. Oh, just a touch too far back, but we know that's where James has looked strong. He led for much of the race earlier on today. Never by more than a few bikes lengths, but always able to outbrake his opposition into the 2 hairpins at the end of the lap. And that meant that they just could not find a way past him. So now he's got to try and use that to gain the lead as opposed to defend it. In the Cup 600s then, it is now Sean O'Reilly actually ahead of Matt Pallett, so the number 36 machine ahead of number 212. And they are just going past the start-finish line now, I think. So O'Reilly and Pallett, they're actually going to go side by side into Endgame corner, but Sean O'Reilly on the outside line manages to hang on. So they go down the Crater curves. The overall race leaders are already exiting the old hairpin. Which of those white bikes is it in front? That looks like Alderson to me. I think that's James Alderson who's got the lead from Tom Fisher. So check that at the end of this sector, see who comes through first. Yeah, I think it must be, because Alderson did a purple first sector, 4/10 quicker than the leader, and he was only 3/10 behind the start of the lap, so he has gone through. Now Tom Fisher trying to fight back as they head for the Fogarty S's again. Fisher looks to the inside line, can't do it. That little exchange of the lead, though, has now brought Tommy Fielding and Dan Stamper back onto their tail. So it's 4 for the lead again as they head for the Melbourne hairpin on this, the 4th lap of the race. Onto the brakes. Fielding really starting now to close in on Tom Fisher. In fact, Fielding's just done 2 purple sectors on this lap, so this is a good lap for him. The last turn. Timing line again, Alderson, Fisher, Fielding and Stamper the top 4. Then it is Lee Wells in 5th, trying his best to fend off Dave Grace on the blue and white number 7. Then Caden Wilkinson in the sort of rainbow coloured number 59 machine. Then Oliver Barr. So Oliver Barr did take the start. He has come from the very back of the grid after that crash earlier on today to be in 8th position now, and his lap times are every bit as good as the leaders. So Oliver Barr is 8.3 seconds off the lead. I don't think he's going to have a chance of catching the leaders, but he could certainly get himself into the top 5 by the end of the race, and that would be a big, big achievement for him. Alderson to the lead, starting now to try and break away, quicker by 2/10 in the first sector than Tom Fisher, but Fisher going with him through the middle part of the lap. They are dropping Fielding and Stamper, though, I'd say, and saying that Tommy's strength is in the second half of the race, but he needs to get a move on, really, because we're almost halfway through. Just had someone going rash tracking, I saw around the corner of my eye at the exit of the old hair as well. Whoever it was managed to bounce back onto the road, and they've carried on. Leader then does down into Melbourne Loop. Alderson, Fisher, Fielding, Stamper, as close as that. Tom Fisher to outfox James Alderson. We saw in the first race he spent so long in this position, did Tom Fisher, staring at the rear wheel of the number 19 machine. James Alderson on the Triumph just managed to always have an answer, always have a defence for Fisher. Did Tom learn anything, I wonder, in that first race that he can now try and apply to this one? Barr, by the way, still in 8th position, but just at 34.9, so apart from the top 4, he is the fastest man on the track, and is now 1 second behind the Dave Grace and Caden Wilkinson scrap that's going on for 6th position. Cup 600, Sean O'Reilly still leads. Michael Stansfield now second, though, with Paul Gibbs down to 3rd. Matt Pallett has had a disastrous lap. It must have been Matt who went off at the old hairpin then, because he's dropped down to 21st place now and 8th within the Cup class. So Matt Pallett slipping down the order. His chances now of a second class win of the weekend looking pretty scant. We'll see if we can pick up a few more places before the checkered flag. Leaders are down onto the Melbourne Loop, still no change in the order. Decent little cushion for certainly Fisher over Fielding. Not really bridging that gap, is he? He's maybe starting to pull slightly away from Dan Stamper, but not by a huge amount. Fielding's last lap, there we go. So forget that, Tommy Fielding just set the fastest lap, 1:34.4. It was only a 10th and a half quicker than the leader, but a 10th and a half is still a gain. looks like he is now starting to come into his own. So yeah, bang on half race distance again, 6 laps in of the 12 to be completed. And Tommy Fielding suddenly starting to look a little bit more pacey. He heads up through McLean's corner. That being said, actually, he's now under real threat from Dan Stamper as they go towards Coppice corner, so he must have made a mistake somewhere in that. No, Stamper's just up the pace. Stamper responding to that. He's just in the purple second sector. While Tom Fisher continues to have a go for the lead. In fact, he's up the inside, is into the Fogarty S's, but Alderson, we know, can break later. Does break later. Hang on to the lead of the race. Down the hill they go then. We're going to have 5 laps to go at the end of this one. And Tommy Fielding will be egging on Tom Fisher here to have a go. I know it's Fisher that he's trying to beat for the championship or for second place, but if Fisher has a little go at Alderson, they run side by side. It's such a momentum circuit, Donington Park, which you start doing side by side through particularly some of the high speed corners like the Craners and the old hairpin and whatnot. Really slow you down and bring that next couple of bikes onto your tail. So that's what Fielding's hoping for. Both he and Dan Stamper faster than the leading two that time, and in fact Stamper's just set the fastest lap of the race. So 1:31.4.190 was about 3/10, almost exactly 3/10 quicker than the race leader went. Leader still is James Alderson, heading towards McLean's. Tommy Fielding's third place is anything but secure though. Dan Stamper peeking to the inside as they go to Coppice corner. Exit from Coppice that matters so much more than the entry though, because you've got that long drag down to the Foggy S's where the leaders arrive again almost side by side, but Alderson to hang on in front. The chicane down into the Melbourne loop. Alderson has Fisher and Fielding and Stamper for company now. All of a sudden those gaps have come down and Fisher's had a really nice exit from the Melbourne hairpin. Forces a bit of a defensive move from race leader into the last turn, and then because Alderson went in on that tight line, he ends up coming off the corner a bit slower. So Tom Fisher now really starting to turn the screws. He's looking to the outside actually into Redgate corner. So Alderson just took a slightly tighter line in. And as they head downhill, this may be where Fisher's best chance to pass is, because like we've said, through the final sector where most of the some standard overtaking opportunities are, Alderson's good enough on the brakes to fend them off, but round through Craners, the old hairpin, maybe even up into McLean's corner, that could be an opportunity for Fisher to try and make a pass. And here he comes, in fact, gets a good exit from McLean's, looks to the inside at Coppice. He was trying this a few times in the earlier race, but Alderson, again, as we've seen time and again, just carries the speed better into the corner. Down that back straight, still with the end. Tom Fisher peeking to the inside. Fielding is as close to Fisher now, though, as Fisher is to the race leader, James Alderson. So, again, the top 4 nose to tail. Bit of traffic up the road as well. A couple of lap drivers that they'll probably have to negotiate before the race ends. To change things around a bit. Here they go then. 3 more laps remain at the end of this one, and it is James Alderson right now defending brilliantly, not making any mistakes, not putting a foot wrong, and Tom Fisher, who has got to try and somehow force a mistake or force a move against James, who has proven to be nigh on impossible to overtake all day long. Alderson carries lots of speed into Redgate corner. Top 3 covered then by 1.2 seconds. It is still Wells in 5th, Wilkinson 6th, Grace 7th, Jodie Leese will come through in 8th position ahead of Kyle Tinker 9th. And Oliver Barr actually slipping down into 10th place now. Barr's pace, I think, has dropped away. I wonder whether maybe either he is feeling some side effects from that crash, or maybe just the bike is not quite in top form, but whatever it is, he's not going as quickly now as he was earlier on in the race, that is for sure. Leaders turn their way up out of McLean's towards Coppice Corner again. We'll have just 2 laps to go at the end of this one. Now, 2 laps where Fisher maybe try and have a go at Alderson, but it was those final couple of laps of the earlier race where Tommy Fielding really came to life. He's caught those top 2, but well, I'll say that, he's dropped back again on this lap, so Fisher and Alderson starting to pull clear once again. They've just started pumping in personal best sectors. Fielding's going to have drop on his hands to try and keep up. This traffic could prove decisive, actually. The rate at which they're catching it, they're going to get there, I think, pretty much at the first corner, maybe the run down through the Craders, so that's going to potentially delay someone in this lead group. Who it delays, we'll have to wait and see. It doesn't help that those 2 back markers are fighting each other as well, actually. So, yeah, they are going to catch them coming out of Redgate. James Alderson takes a tight line into Redgate and then gets sort of held up behind the 2 lap runners. And so Fisher will be liking what he's seeing here at the inside. Oh no, Alderson cleared them beautifully, and Fisher in fact goes the wrong way, gets sort of forced onto the outside line through Hollywood and loses a huge chunk of time. So those 2 back markers are still side by side, and all through comes Dan Stamper, I think. Dan Stamper, I reckon, might have just got past Tommy Fielding, did he? No, I think, hard to tell from the CCTV pictures. No, I think that's still Fielding third, but they both took a few risks there in the traffic through the Craders. That, I think, might have just won the race here for James Alderson, really. Alderson has got now the biggest lead he's had. It's not a massive one, but it's, you know, 6/10 or so as they head down the exhibition straight. Tom Fisher, in fairness, lost 6/10 in the first sector, gained 2 of them back in sector 2 and another 2 in sector 3, so he's got the pace, hasn't he? This is the frustration. He's quicker, I think, than Alderson, just in the 2 key places where you do all of your overtaking here, the Melbourne hairpin and the Goddard's hairpin. He just can't break as late as the race leader. He's arriving back on his tail now with a bit of momentum. Let's see whether on the final lap Tom Fisher can make a move. There are 2 more back markers actually that have just crossed the line. I don't know whether they're going to catch them before the flag. If they do, that could maybe give Tom Fisher an opportunity. Through they go then. They're paired off now, 2 of them fighting for the lead, 2 of them fighting for third, and it's going to be surely either James Alderson or Tom Fisher who will get the race victory. Through Redgate Corner they go. Down through the Craders for the last time of asking. They are going to catch those 2 lap runners, but it might be towards the end of the lap. Like that, maybe just knock James Alderson off his stride in that final sector where he's been so strong. Fisher closing in visibly as they head out of the old hairpin up towards Starkey's. Over the inside curb then, the gap shrinking all the time, and Tom Fisher, if he was a length or so closer, might have had a go into McLean's. Dan Stamper was trying to get up the inside of Tommy Fielding into that corner, but didn't quite manage to get the overlap. Up towards Coppice for the final time. Fisher closes now to within a bike length of James Alderson, looks to try and get the run onto the back straight. They're going to catch these back markers at the Fogarty S's. I think this could really wreak havoc with the leading 2, because they're going to get bottled up behind them at the worst part of the circuit. Alderson's ahead, but he's going to be surely slower off this chicane than he'd like to be. Oh no, he timed that beautifully. Fires underneath the first of the back markers. Tom Fisher goes with him. They'll both now slip up the inside of the second of them into the Melbourne hairpin. But that is surely going to be it. Fisher's wide. Fisher's very wide, actually. Manages just to get back onto the racing line. But James Alderson, I think, has been able to use that traffic actually to his advantage and should now be able to come through the final corner to claim his second race victory of the day. Out of the final turn they come, and it is James Alderson who is going to claim the victory in the final Pirelli Super Series 600 race of the season. Second place will go the way of number 45 Tom Fisher. Third for number 556 Tommy Fielding. Fourth place goes to number 80 Dan Stamper. Fifth then will be Lee Wells. Here he comes just ahead of Caden Wilkinson, actually, who got past Dave Grace on the final lap. So it is 70 Lee Wells in 5th, 6th number 59 Caden Wilkinson, 7th number 71 Dave Grace, 8th place.